AJ and Cheryl.
DWTS recap. The first couple is sent home and Kaitlyn Bristowe dances through an injury. Week 2 of DWTS introduced a new frontrunner and featured a few major stumbles. The night ended with the first celebrity of season 29 being sent home. The second week of the competition kicks off with Nev Schumann and Jenna Johnson. They dance the tango to the BTS hit Dynamite. Nev and Jenna are perfectly in sync throughout their routine. Derek Huff calls it a solid performance and only makes a note about Nev's shoulders. Bruno Tonioli tells Nev that he's so nimble with footwork and the gyrations were mind-boggling. Kariani Naba says Nev has impressed her once again. Nev and Jenna's scores: Karian equals 7, Derek equals 7, and Bruno equals 7. Total score equals 21 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks, 41 out of 60. Sky Jackson and Alan Burston are up next. They're one of the couples at the top of the leaderboard coming into week 2. They dance the samba to Neo's Miss Independent. They run into a little bit of trouble during their performance, and Sky's leg slips. But she brushes it off. Bruno acknowledges the mistake but says when you get it right you are precise. Karian tells Sky to just work on her arms a little bit. Derek says to just brush off this week and think about next week. Sky stays positive despite the mistake. I still think we did a really good job, she says. That's the spirit. Sky and Alan's scores: Karian equals 5, Derek equals 5, and Bruno equals 5. Total score equals 15 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks, 36 out of 60. Johnny Ware and Britt Stewart take on the tango to Lady Gaga's Poker Face. They definitely put the F in fierce with this routine. Karian admits that Johnny's footwork is a bit odd, like he hasn't quite found the floor. Derek tells Johnny to watch his frame in the routine. Bruno thinks Johnny was much more focused this time around. Johnny and Britt's scores: Karian equals 6, Derek equals 6, and Bruno equals 6. Total score equals 18 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks, 36 out of 60. Justina Machado and Sasha Farber stun with their foxtrot to Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey's When You Believe. It's so romantic and graceful. Derek raves that Justina is such a natural, beautiful dancer. Bruno says Justina's lyricism is excellent. Karian loves that Justina is so connected emotionally to everything you're doing. Justina and Sasha's scores: Karian equals 7, Derek equals 7, and Bruno equals 7. Total score equals 21 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks, 42 out of 60. Monica Aldama and Val Chmerkowski dance the first jive of the night to Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. She's definitely much more confident this week with this routine. Bruno says that Monica's cheerleading background definitely helped her this week, but it wasn't quite there yet. Karian did not like the lift at all. She thinks it wasn't necessary. Derek tells Monica she was fun, playful, bubbly but wished there was more jive. Monica and Val's scores: Karian equals 5, Derek equals 6, and Bruno equals 5. Total score equals 16 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks, 35 out of 60. AJ McLean and Cheryl Burke dance the foxtrot to Dean Martin's Ain't That a Kick in the Head. AJ has so much rhythm, and his chemistry with Cheryl is great. Karian admits she loved it and says it was smooth as silk. Derek raves that AJ is such a showman, but he points out a little mistake during the routine. Bruno says it was a bit choppy but otherwise great. AJ and Cheryl's scores: Karian equals 7, Derek equals 6, and Bruno equals 6. Total score equals 19 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks, 37 out of 60. Next up is Anne Heche and Keo Motsep. They danced the foxtrot to One Republic's Counting Stars. Derek really enjoyed the performance, but he admits there's a bit of a disconnect with Anne's arms and feet. Bruno loves that there was so much foxtrot in the routine. Carrie raves over the trust between Anne and KO. She already sees growth in Anne already. Anne and KO's scores: Carrie Anne equals 6, Derek equals 6, and Bruno equals 6. Total score equals 18 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks: 36 out of 60. Nelly and Daniela Karagok perform a cha-cha to Earth, Wind and Fire's Let's Groove. They both have so much fun with the performance. Bruno notes Nelly has a fantastic musicality but wants him to articulate a little more through the foot. Carrie Ann tells Nelly to watch the turns but admits he is the easiest to watch. Nelly and Daniela's scores: Carrie Ann equals 6, Derek equals 6, and Bruno equals 6. Total score equals 18 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks: 34 out of 60. Chriselle Stas is determined to do better in week 2 with Gleb Savchenko. They dance an emotional rumba to This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. Derek tells Chriselle she is dancing with so much more confidence. He just says to think about her feet. Bruno admits that Chriselle has such beautiful lines and shapes sometimes. All the judges agree this was a huge improvement. Chriselle and Gleb's scores: Carrie Ann equals 6, Derek equals 6, and Bruno equals 6. Total score equals 18 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks: 31 out of 60. Charles Oakley and Emma Slater take on the cha-cha and dance to Never Too Much by Luther Vandross. All the judges believe this was a massive improvement from his first week. He just needs to work on his footwork a lot more. Charles and Emma's scores: Carrie Ann equals 5, Derek equals 5, and Bruno equals 5. Total score equals 15 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks: 27 out of 60. Get ready for more passion. Jesse Metcalfe and Sharna Burgess hit the ballroom next with their foxtrot to Fleetwood Mac's Dreams. Jesse is well aware they have a lot of passion. As expected, their foxtrot is very romantic. Bruno loves Jesse's dreaminess but tells him to watch his bum and footwork. Carrie Ann disagrees with Bruno and says Jesse was smooth and elegant. Jesse and Sharna's scores: Carrie Ann equals 7, Derek equals 7, and Bruno equals 6. Total score equals 20 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks: 38 out of 60. Jeannie Mai and Brandon Armstrong's cha-cha to St. J.H.'s Roses is so fun and energetic. Carrie Ann tells Jeannie that she's made such an improvement. Derek thinks it was a little wild and crazy but like Jeannie's energy. Jeannie and Brandon's scores: Carrie Ann equals 8, Derek equals 6, and Bruno equals 6. Total score equals 18 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks: 36 out of 60. Carol Baskin is shaking off being at the bottom of the leaderboard. She opens up to Pasha Pashkov about the negative media attention surrounding Tiger King. They dance the Viennese Waltz to What's New Pussycat by Tom Jones. Overall, she makes a big improvement from last week and the judges give her props for that. Carol and Pasha's scores: Carrie Ann equals 6, Derek equals 5, and Bruno equals 5. Total score equals 16 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks: 27 out of 60. Vernon Davis and Peter Murgatroyd performed the Paso Doble to We Found Love by Calvin Harris and Rihanna. It's definitely fierce but a little stiff. Bruno admits he loved the power, the determination, the strength but says Vernon needs to work on the shaping. Derek wants more intensity, especially in a dance like the Paso Doble. Carrie Ann points out that she loved that Vernon corrected himself in the middle for the performance. She just wants Vernon to dance bigger. Vernon and Peta's scores: Carrie Ann equals 6, Derek equals 6, and Bruno equals 6. Total score equals 18 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks, 25 out of 60. The final dance of the night is Kaitlyn Bristowe and Artem Shivintsev. Initially, it was questionable whether or not Kaitlyn would dance because of an ankle injury, but she's been cleared. She dances a gorgeous foxtrot to Leanne Womack's "I Hope You Dance." Carrie-Anne calls the performance beautiful and wonders what the routine would have looked like if Kaitlyn wasn't injured. Derek raves it was graceful and effortless. Bruno is all about the quality of movement and compares Kaitlyn to a ballerina. Kaitlyn and Artem's scores: Carrie-Anne equals 7, Derek equals 8, and Bruno equals 7. Total score equals 22 out of 30. Their combined scores for 2 weeks, 42 out of 60. They're tied at the top of the leaderboard with Justina. Now it's time for the first elimination. The judges will be able to save one of the couples in the bottom 2. The first couple that's safe is Kaitlyn and Artem, followed by Vernon and Peta. The next safe couple is AJ and Cheryl. Justina and Sasha are also safe. Joining the other safe couples are Jesse and Sharna, Johnny and Britt, Monica and Val, Nellie and Daniela, Jeannie and Brandon, Neve and Jenna, Ann and Ko, and Sky and Alan. The last couple safe is Chriselle and Gleb. Carol and Pasha are in the bottom 2, along with Charles and Emma. It's now down to the judges. Carrie-Anne saves Carol and Pasha. Bruno goes with Charles and Emma. Derek has to break the tie and goes with Carol and Pasha. Carol and Pasha are safe, while Charles and Emma are going home.
My partner is killing it today!